This is a story about a nerdy little dweeb named Scott Pilgrim, who falls in love with the girl of his dreams, like the literal girl of his dreams. She has a troubled past that has come back to haunt her. Scott has to decide whether or not to fight this battle with her and win her heart, or lose her forever. And by fight, I mean beating the living snot out of 7 evil assholes!
Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is trash. It is silly, it is over the top, and it is just dumb. And I love it!
For Pete's sake, there isn't enough space in the universe to contain the amount of love that I feel for this movie.
The film is visually unique, it has hilarious humor, and it has some of the best action sequences in the freaking world.
As most of you probably know, the film is actually an adaptation of a series of indie comics by this guy right here, released over the course of 6 years starting in 2004. The books and film are actually pretty different, so I thought I would go through each book one-on-one alongside the movie and tell you what those differences are. Even though those who have already read the books and watched the film already know the differences, and those who have only read and watched one version are going to have the other version completely spoiled for them.
Whoops!
Screw it, I'm doing it anyway. Let's go! Let us start with some character introductions. We start off with our main character, Scott Pilgrim, played by Michael Cera. According to the internet, Michael is playing the same role here as he does in every other movie, the socially awkward nerd. But I haven't seen his other movies, so I'll just have to take their word for it. In the book, Scott is pretty much the same, except he is the biggest dumbass on the planet. He is so dumb, he makes me think this Scott could become a professor at Oxford.
Break out the L word.
Lesbian?
The other L word.
Lesbians?
Oh, it'll rub off of you at first, but don't worry, it'll get to you. Here's an example of Scott's stupid behavior. There is an ongoing joke in the book where Scott keeps freaking out about his hair. Every time his hair gets mentioned, he completely loses his mind and cries about getting a haircut. And there's no real payoff, he just gets a haircut eventually and that's it. Well, at least the movie was able to make something funny out of it.
Your hair's getting shaggy.
Yeah?
Not only is he stupid, but he's also got some serious memory problems throughout the series. It gets to the point where he is completely unlikable. Every time I see his face on a panel, so almost every panel, I want to punch his mashed potato-filled head. Wallace is probably my favorite supporting character in the whole movie. He is creepy and a bit weird, but he also pushes Scott to go the extra mile in life. He's kind of like Scott's father, but he's also sometimes a total asshole to him. And all of it is freaking hilarious. Kim is another one of my favorites. Her is so awesome I scream and clap my hands every time she does it. She also has some of the film's funniest moments.
Yeah, but don't worry. Maybe soon you'll meet my new girlfriend. New.
Since she is the drummer, she of course has to be the cold one in the group. She rarely even smiles. Come on. There you go. Look at her here. Is she a statue or something? Stephen Stills in the movie is a paranoid mess of a character. He is the band leader, but he's the last guy on Earth I would let lead a band. But Stephen Stills in the books does have his moments of freaking out, but other than that, he is pretty competent, especially in the kitchen. This guy, I don't think he can go to the bathroom without worrying something will come out horribly wrong. Stacey Pilgrim is fine in the movie. She has a bit of humor in the beginning by constantly calling Scott as soon as she hears about him. She's also in the movie the one that's most flabbergasted when the crazy shenanigans go down. Other than that, she doesn't really do anything, even in the books. She's just kind of there, so there really isn't much to compare. Ooh, that rhymed. Except I got one problem. The actress looks way too old to be 18. I have nothing against Anna Kendrick. She is a fine young lady. Very fine. But there is no way she is younger than Michael Cera. And you know what? She is older than him. I just checked the most reliable source of information in the world. Anna Kendrick is 30.
Michael Cera is 28.
So why the would you cast someone to be Scott's younger sister when she doesn't even look younger than him? I think the only reason they cast her is because she is popular in Pitch Perfect or something. Wait a minute? That came out later! Forget it. Also, in case you're wondering why Stacey calls Scott her little brother in the movie,
Time heals all wounds, little brother.
it is something she does in the books as well. Probably because she is more mature than Scott. I will get into the two female leads later. There's actually not much to say about the first book because just about every scene from the book is in the movie. And not only that, they're pretty much identical. Wow, we're off to a great start. The books and film are actually pretty different.
Alright, fine. Not in this case. But trust me, we'll get there.
Now it's time to meet our first evil ex.
My name is Matthew Patel, and I'm Ramona's first evil ex-boyfriend.
Okay, so
Matthew Patel!
Okay, it's just brilliant. His performance is so damn through the roof that he is absolutely hysterical. The movie even has the guts to include the cuckoo scene where
Matthew Patel!
shut up. Summons flying vampire girls to his aid with an overly corny dance. These are all things normal people with brains would probably pass out of what the f***ness, but not me. Compared to the book version,
Matthew Patel!
shut up! Is a better fighter as well.
Is it gonna do it again? If it does it again, I'm going to...
Matthew Patel! Shut the fuck up!
After the fight is when we get our first big thing from the books that wasn't used in the movie, the glowing head.
It isn't explained here yet though, so for now we're just gonna have to move on.
The book starts off with a flashback of Scott back in high school, where he meets Kim and Lisa. Lisa isn't very important right now though. What is important, however, is that Scott and Kim meet. She gets kidnapped and Scott has to rescue her from the evil Simon Lee. After the most out of nowhere falling in love I have ever seen, they, well, fall in love. All is well and good until Scott moves away to Toronto. In the movie, it is implied that Scott dumped Kim, and from the looks of things, it did not end well.
Time you dumped Kim.
Okay, me and Kim are all good now, alright?
Besides that, the big breakup, the night at Scott's house, Knives going crazy, and Envy's phone call are all translated perfectly from book to film.
The real big changes start with our second evil ex, Lucas Lee. In the book, Lucas Lee is out of all the exes the least of a jerk. After making Scott believe he can fly, he actually offers Scott a little break, and they end up having a nice chat together where they end up talking about the League of Evil Exes as well as Lucas's previous relationship with Ramona, revealing that she actually cheated on him, even though she told Scott that she didn't. After that, Scott makes Lucas do a grind down a super long staircase and it is all over. In the movie, however, he is played by Chris Evans, who is also known for playing some captain guy. I forget the name. It's in the superhero genre. He wears blue and he throws something that comes back to him. Ah, that's right. Captain Boomerang. However, the movie version of this character is an arrogant, spoilt little brat. Seriously, he just thinks he is Christmas on a stick. Anyway, the fight in here is much better, because this time they have allowed Chris Evans' stunt team to join the fun.
But it does still end the same way.
This isn't the only change in the movie. After that, we see Ramona actually get attacked by knives in a mall, and they end up having a crazy battle with Ramona doing whatever she can to defend herself. Ramona wins by hitting her with a plant in the face! Crikey, how does she not have a flat nose? In the movie, they fight much later, but I'll get to that when I get there. The book starts backstage with Envy and her boyfriend, Evil Ex number 3, Todd. Yeah, Envy, Scott's ex, is dating Ramona's ex. What a coincidence! In the movie, things get out of hand and Scott finds out that Todd has psychic powers. What, you didn't know that being vegan gives you psychic powers? What are you, stupid? He defeats Todd and... that's it for the movie. Yep, nothing else from the book is used. That is because the whole third book focuses on the confrontation with not just Todd, but Envy as well. Scott and Todd actually fight each other 3 times in the book. The first and last time are the same in the movie, with the demonstration of Todd's powers being the first, and the base battle being the last. But in between those fights, they have a race through some store, where Scott falls down some stairs, some crazy hallucinations happen, and then Todd goes ballistic after having some flashbacks in which we find out that he is having an affair with the band's drummer, and makes the whole building collapse. Envy finds out about the affair, and Todd rightfully gets a kick in the berries for it. In both the book and the film, the vegan police show up and take Todd's powers away. However, the reason for him eating his third dairy product is different. In the movie, Scott outsmarts him into drinking half and half milk. I never thought I would say in some capacity the words Scott and smart in the same sentence. While in the book, he purposefully ate his third dairy product. Envy is also good in the movie, thanks to another immensely enjoyable over-the-top performance, this time by Brie Larson, but after the fight with Todd, Envy completely disappears from the movie. In the books, Ramona and Envy hate each other. Like, really, really hate each other. Scott also runs into knives, and... yeah, now is about time I talk about knives, isn't it? I decided to save my opinion about knives for now, because this scene actually plays a big part in how I feel about her. With that build-up, you might think that I hate knives, but I don't. In the movie, she is actually my favorite character.
Oh my gosh!
Okay,
They're on!
this next band is from Toronto, and, yeah. Give it up for Sex Bob Om.
In the book, on the other hand, she is similar in both versions. She is a sweet, innocent teenage girl who falls in love with Scott and then goes on a quest for revenge after she gets dumped. In both versions, she dates young Neil after being dumped. In the movie, it was trying to make Scott jealous, but in the book, it is because she thinks Neil looks like Scott. That's not creepy at all. But, to be fair, the movie version is a little creepy too.
I promise I will do everything I can to get out of the study group and come.
Why do I suddenly feel like she watches him in his sleep? For some reason, I like the film version of the character a lot better than the book version. There are 2 reasons. The first reason I figured out pretty quickly, and that is Ellen Wong. She is, in my opinion, the best actress in the movie. She just brings this character to life and gives such an entertaining and funny performance that makes Knives a joy to watch. Every time she came out of nowhere, I had a big stupid grin on my face because I knew I was gonna get some more Ellen Wong goodness. When I then read the books, I didn't get that same feeling of fun and craziness that I got from Ellen. They are both crazy, but Ellen is a more fun kind of crazy. This Knives comes across as desperate crazy. Knives comes across as really pathetic and desperate in the books. And that is also because... in the film, Knives finds out that she has been cheated on after Scott admits it to both her and Ramona. In the books, she finds out early on towards the end of the second book, after she recognizes Ramona in their first encounter. I was really surprised by this when I first read this, because I thought this would change the way the relationship between Scott and Knives went. But it doesn't change anything. She is still obsessing over him, which makes her come across as even more pathetic. Other characters also point out to her that Scott two-timed her, including by her friend, who she is driving crazy. Even the books thinks she is pathetic. Yet even with that knowledge, she still loves him. It is true that in both versions she blames Ramona for Scott leaving, but she does not know in the movie that she was cheated on, which is why it's so irritating watching her kiss his ass so easily. Seriously, Look at this. She rescues Ramona from Envy because she wants his happiness. But I will give the book version this. She looks so darn cute! There's also some backstory about the relationship between Scott and Envy. She starts off as a nice geeky girl called Natalie, but after they start the band, she slowly transforms into the cold-hearted bitch we now know as Envy, resulting in a fight that ended with her dumping him. I would have liked to have seen more of Envy in the movie, but I guess not. Oh well, on to the next book. Well, so far things have been looking pretty good for the most part. The first book was perfectly adapted, the second one was more or less the same, the third one was abridged, but the scenes that they did have were pretty good, so overall, things are looking good. So, how much of the fourth book was adapted? We got Scott's first encounter with the fourth X, and what else? Oh. Well, that's not a big deal. Not every book has to be adapted word for word. They can do their own thing every once in a while. I mean, it's not like they're gonna go straight to the next evil X. Are you fucking kidding me? It has been 2 minutes, and we are already at another X? Oh, thank you, overly generous movie. It is not like anything important happens in the book, like Scott actually starting to get some character development. No, forget that! Let's keep the fighting going. It's not like character development is important or anything. There's quite a bit of the book to talk about since none of it was used in the movie. For example, Scott actually reunites with his high school friend Lisa. While she is there, Lisa begins to wonder why she and Scott never dated, and Ramona gets suspicious and angry. Scott ends up needing to stay at Lisa's place after Wallace kicks him out. She talks to Scott about their past relationship and then actually suggests having a relationship with him. We then find out the next day that nothing happened and that Scott admitted to her that he is in love with Ramona. Scott unfortunately does not remember this. I am personally glad this wasn't used because it is completely unnecessary. It was just a pointless love triangle that never went anywhere. All Lisa gets in the movie is a name drop.
Time with Lisa?
This is the book where Scott actually tries to mature as a person. He decides to get a job. A really sucky job, but still a job. At work is also his second encounter with Roxy. Like in the movie, Roxy has a fight with Ramona, except here Ramona fights her with a bat. This isn't the only encounter they have with Roxy in the book. By the way, Roxy mentions that Ramona cheated on her as well. We also get to see Knife's family in the books, including her very loving and gentle father, who isn't happy with the idea of his daughter dating a Caucasian. So, having a tender heart, he decides he wants to kill Scott using his ninja skills because his brain has cracked and now he fancies revenge. He attacks Scott several times but also ends up fighting Roxy. While they are fighting, Roxy calls Scott chicken. Okay, I'm actually paraphrasing. Anyway, Scott then finally mans up and tells Ramona that he loves her, something the movie version of Scott...
Because I'm in lesbians with you.
What?
...doesn't do. With that, he earns the power of love.
That's the power of love. That's the power of love.
After that, Scott takes the fight into his own hands and defeats Roxy with a scene ripped straight out of Ninja Gaiden. Knives' dad decides that Scott isn't a bad guy and lets him go. Out of everything that wasn't in the movie, I would have liked to have seen him in the movie the most. So yeah, this book has some bad things that were not used, and some good stuff that still wasn't used. Let's hope the next book changes that. So, we have just had 2 X's back to back, and Ramona is now angry at Scott. Now is probably a good time to calm the movie down and have these two sit down and work out their relationship.
Caddy and Aggie twins just happen to be the next band in the battle.
Oh my gosh, 10 minutes ago we were at Evil X number 3. And now we're at X's number 5 and 6? Am I watching a movie or a video game?
It is honestly starting to get pretty hard to tell. Seriously, the breaks between the fights now are so short I keep expecting the skip scene button to show up. It is like the movie has gotten sick of itself and is now going as fast as it can for it to be over. I am getting irritated and I haven't even mentioned the next two X's yet. They are the They are not only Ramona's exes, but they are also the next two opponents that Scott's band has to face. What a coincidence. They immediately fight without even getting a proper introduction to their characters, and then they are gone. They come and go faster than you can say Ugh. For Pete's sake, I have gotten to know a chocolate wrapper better than these guys. Apparently, the reason why the twins couldn't talk in the movie is because the actors can't speak English. Come on! You couldn't find any Asian twins who spoke English? If that didn't work, why couldn't they have done maybe the thing that they did in The Parent Trap, where they had one English-speaking actor play both twins? That could have worked. In the book, they aren't even musicians. Instead, they use robots to kick Scott's butt for them. But that is not all. Ramona finds out from Knives how she was cheated on by Scott, which puts Scott's relationship with Ramona in a bad place. Her head is also glowing, just so you know. But then Kim gets Princess Peach by the by the twins. It is revealed that like Lucas and Roxy, Ramona cheated on them, only this time with each other. Kim then levels up his motivation by lying to him saying that Ramona has sent him a text supporting him. With that, he fatalities those two biatches and heads back home. Only for Ramona to suddenly dump him and vanish into thin air.
The final X is a time traveler! He's traveled back in time and erased Ramona out of existence! That way, no one can ever be with her! What?
Actually, we don't know what happened to her yet. So, before we find that out, let's see what else is in this book. Scott has his birthday. Scott plays some games on Ramona's phone. Oh, there's an X-Men reference. That is awesome. Ramona tells Scott that she does not like his band, and he freaks out about it. Scott also loses Ramona's cat at one point and tries to get it back for a while. Scott, Ramona, and Kim get drunk at one point.
Yeah, that's about it. Okay, I don't blame the movie. Moving on.
So, we have finally made it to the final book. There's quite a bit to talk about, so I'm going to start off by summarizing the book first.
A couple months have gone by and there is still no sign of Ramona. Scott is slacking off enjoying what I think is a pretty funny product placement for the PlayStation Go, because that console ended up bombing big time, and a few months ago in this continuity, the characters were using computers that looked like this. And I thought technology in our world moved fast. He gets out of the house eventually and bumps into Knives, who tells him that she is going to college soon.
I'm sorry, but I don't believe for 1 second that is a girl that's going to college. She looks like a 5-year-old who wants her Barbie doll back.
Scott then takes Wallace's advice and bluntly asks her if she wants to have sex with him, resulting in what might be the funniest what the fuck stare I have ever seen. She looks like she's about to hypnotize Scott.
But knowing Knives, she is most likely going to say yes.
Scott, do you remember how you, cheated on me and stuff? Kind of a crummy boyfriend in retrospect.
What?
Scott, I don't want you anymore.
No way. No way!
I've moved on.
She's done it! She's changed! She's changed! Yeah! Oh my gosh, it's a miracle!
It's cool if we make out for a while.
I spoke too soon. That made it totally worth it.
Scott then runs into this girl here. Can you guess who that is? No? Okay, then. No. Don't type that in the comments. Don't type who it is. I'm not expecting you to answer that. You come right back up here, okay? Okay. It is Envy.
What?
Can you believe it? She's totally a new woman now. And I really mean that because this time she's actually really nice to him. They go out on a walk and they talk about their relationship, and she mentions the night in which they broke up at New Year's, and she tells him actually that he was the one that started the fight. Scott does not remember that though. He does not even remember their relationship that lasted 2 whole years. I have seen Blue Tang with better memory than him. But then, the moment we've all been waiting for, the final evil X, Gideon, finally shows himself.
Oh my gosh, this has been long overdue. What's he look like? Really? After waiting for so long for the final X, we get a...
Whatever, don't judge a book by its cover. Anyway, this fight is going to be the best.
Chicken, Peter, you just a little chicken. Chip, 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 chip.
Wallace sends Scott away so that he can clear his head so that he's ready to fight Gideon. He ends up staying at Kim's place. Scott tries to restart his relationship with Kim, but she refuses. As Scott tries to explain and remind her of their high school romance, Kim throws that all away by explaining that their relationship was not as wonderful as Scott thought. Not only that, but Simon Lee, the guy that Scott fought in order to save her, turns out to just be some nerdy kid who Scott inexplicably punched the teeth out of. Suddenly, Scott's head starts to glow, and then he comes face to face with the manifestation of his dark side, Nega Scott. At first, Scott decides to fight it so that he can forget about Ramona, but just before the fight ends, he remembers how much he loves Ramona and decides that she is worth fighting for and that he shouldn't run away from his mistakes. Nega Scott then disappears and Scott regains all of his memories. With his newfound strength, he heads to Gideon's club in order to look for Ramona. While Envy is performing the opening number, Gideon finally appears. However, when asked about Ramona, Gideon is just as shocked to find out that Ramona isn't here. So then he Temple of Dooms the power of love right out of Scott and... Oh well, that's it. The end. Bye!
That's all, folks.
But wait, there is more. Now before I go on, there's something I have to talk about real quick that was for the most part left out of the movie, but played a pretty big part in the book. I decided to save it for now because now is where it's probably the most important. It's the subspace. The subspace is an alternate dimension. It can be used to travel quickly from one place to the other. It's also used to enter someone's dreams. This happens to Scott by Ramona, and at one point, Roxy. Scott also manages to use it a couple times. It is used quite frequently in the books, but it's barely in the movie. Ramona explains in the beginning how it works, and they also use it during their first date, but that's about it. They don't even explain that the door is part of subspace, so for those who haven't read the books, it comes kind of out of nowhere. Anyway, back to the story. We end up back in subspace with Scott, and he finally meets up with Ramona again. She confesses to him that she left because she was unhappy with her behavior towards him. I love this scene so much, but I'll explain it later. She apologizes, and everything is great. Except for the fact that Scott is dead. Luckily, Scott has an extra life, and he is brought back to life, and Ramona joins him for the fight. Gideon reveals to him that he has 6 of his ex-girlfriends cryogenically frozen until they all decide to date him. What a creep! He then shoots a beam that causes everybody's heads to glow. It also causes Scott and Ramona to start arguing with each other for some reason.
Ramona also points out to Gideon that he wasn't interested in their relationship until it was over, which is true. Ramona attempts to retreat but gets stabbed by Gideon in the process. Gideon then explains that the glow is something he created that traps the people he infects with whatever issues they have. He is also able to control people's emotions with it. But Ramona was able to figure out how to use it to get into subspace and leave him. So, this guy used the glow/subspace on Ramona in order to get into her head and manipulate her into falling in love with him. This guy is officially an asshole! They then realize that Ramona's bag is an entrance into subspace, so Scott jumps into Ramona's head where she is held captive by Gideon, who is waiting for him. Ramona, however, is able to regain control and able to kick him out. Then Gideon decides to kill Scott, but Ramona puts the bag in the way, destroying it and any possibility of her being mind-controlled by Gideon. Side note, how much stuff was in Ramona's bag? It looks like quite a lot. But how does she get the stuff out of the bag that she wants? Does she sometimes have to go down into the subspace herself in what looks like a junkyard? Does she have Mr. Fantastic's powers?
Or does the bag vomit out whatever she wants? Oh my gosh, I have no life.
By the way, has anyone else noticed in the movie the star on her bag is always the same color as her hair?
It's not weird at all.
It's not.
Ramona earns the power of love. And now very ticked off Gideon then snaps at Envy when she tries to help him. And then Scott realizes something. He is just as bad at relationships as Gideon is. And then Scott earns the power of understanding. Gideon also reveals that not only did he spy on them through subspace, but he also messed with Scott's memories, including the high school one.
That's it.
Finish him!
Let me get back to the scene of them in subspace. It is fantastic! I feel it gives Ramona a small arc of her own. Instead of facing her issues, she always ran away from the relationship when it got bad, and ended up with someone else before anything could be resolved. But this time she came back, because this is the relationship she feels is worth fighting for. She has always acted cool, but finally shows that she has a soft side and has fears about the relationship herself. Neither of them are perfect, but in the end, they decide to give each other a second chance. They both decide to fight for each other through their flaws, no matter what the other person was like before. And that is what true love is all about. This couple here sucks!
Alright. But before I get into that, let me talk about the movie version real quick.
The movie version also takes place in the club, except Ramona broke up with Scott in order to be with Gideon. Scott goes to the club to try and win her back. He gains the power of love, but is overpowered. Knives then arrives to the scene and has her long overdue fight with Ramona. Scott tells both girls that he cheated on him, but gets killed shortly after. Scott and Ramona end up in subspace, and she tells him that Gideon is mind-controlling her, only this time with a chip. She then alludes to him that he should fight for himself instead of for her. He then comes back to life, but instead of reviving where he was, he goes back to the beginning of the level. Scott is now a changed man. He starts acting nice to his friends and apologizes to all three of his exes. This time with the power of self-respect and knives, this time instead of Ramona, he defeats Gideon. Cue the nega Scott fake out, then Scott gets back together with Ramona, and the story is over. Now you may be wondering why I just said Scott and Ramona suck as a couple in the movie. Well, the problem lies more with Ramona than Scott. Ramona in the book is rather friendly and happy compared to the movie version. The movie version of Ramona comes across as emotionally closed off, kind of like Kim. Oh yeah, that's another thing. In the book, Ramona and Kim share a really close friendship together. Which is funny because I think Kim would like this Ramona a lot better than the book version. The choice, however, to make Ramona more emotionally closed off was intentional because originally Scott was going to end up with Knives in the movie, which is why she fights with him in the end. It is done this way so that Knives would come across as more likable, so that we would want Scott to stop ignoring her and get back together with her. And watching the movie, you can tell that's what they were going for. I would be okay with that, except that Knives is underaged. I think that's probably the only reason why I don't want them to get together in the movie. The ending got changed at the last minute because it got a bad reception from test audiences. But the main reason I think Ramona and Scott staying together doesn't feel anywhere near as satisfying as it does in the books is because it doesn't really feel like Ramona's in love with him. In fact, she was about to leave without hesitation, without even saying goodbye. She hasn't learned anything and she just doesn't really care. Her arc in the books not only gave her a bit of character development, but it proved that she wanted this relationship just as much as Scott did. To be fair, the movie does take place over a much shorter period of time than the books. They're nowhere near as far in the relationship as in the books, like moving in together and stuff. But still, the movie moves at such a ridiculously fast pace that after the halfway point it feels like the main story is completely glossed over. The relationship is never really explored. We don't get to know much about Scott and Ramona. The movie is only an hour and 48 minutes long, so I think maybe an extra 10 or 20 minutes could have made the story or the relationship a little bit better. Maybe they should have cut some of the X's out. Maybe instead of having 7 meh 2 bleh X's, they could have had 3 awesome X's for this one. They become a couple in this, and then in the sequel you can have the rest of the X's while also exploring their relationship. But that's never going to happen. But on the other hand, the film does know what it is. It isn't supposed to be a drama. This is a movie with stupid stuff like needing to defeat 7 exes, the boyfriends all turn into coins when they are defeated, one of the boyfriends has psychic powers because he is vegan, Michael Cera is a badass. You know, silly implausible stuff like that. So we can at least give the movie props for not trying to be something it isn't. Man, I just realized as this video went on, I started to rip apart this movie more and more. But I only started thinking this stuff after I had read the books. Both versions are great for different reasons. The book put the characters and drama into the spotlight, while the movie takes full advantage of its medium and puts the visuals front and center, giving us a movie that is a feast for the eyes with its bright colors and flashy action sequences. But in the end, I loved the movie, and I loved the books too. I never thought for 1 second that a movie so ridiculous but so perfect for me could ever be made, but they have done it. The second this film started, I knew that this film was going to rock my world. Scott Pilgrim may be a bit of a stupid movie, but I don't care. It is a hilarious movie, and I love it to bits, and I always will. It is perfect for me. And the books have just as much to enjoy as well. I highly recommend you grab some popcorn, grab your friends, gather around the couch, and have a great time.
Oh my gosh, 10 minutes ago we were at Evil X number 3. And now we are at X's number 5 and 6? Damn it. That's not 6. Damn it. Oh my gosh, 10 minutes ago we were at X's... Oh my gosh, 10 minutes... Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Oh man. Let's try it again. Oh my god. I'm face palming in front of the camera on my bookshelf. Oh, I need to stop laughing. I need to get this done. It's been going on for too long. Oh my gosh, 10 minutes ago we were at X's number 3. No, damn it. Oh my gosh, 10 minutes.